I thought it'd be interesting to review compound squeezes at some point. I haven't really taken a look at this. I flipped through the table of contents a little bit. This is a little 93-page document here on squeezes. And it goes over like nomenclature and stuff and whatever. Simple squeezes, trump squeezes, strip squeezes, stepping stone, stuff like that, vice squeeze, winkle, these sorts of thing. 3-suit squeezes, double squeezes, guard squeezes, and then all the way at the very bottom, there are 18 pages worth of material, maybe 19 pages worth of material on compound squeeze. I don't know what this like weird graphic glitch is, why we have these like white spaces. There's also some other more advanced stuff, knockout squeezes, backwash squeezes, entry shifting squeezes, and all of that sort of stuff. I would say that I've basically forgotten about a lot of the more advanced types of squeezes, like entry squeezes still make a lot of sense to me. Those are pretty intuitive. Entry shifting squeezes, also pretty intuitive. But like guard squeezes, I've mostly forgotten about. Compound squeezes, I've generally forgotten about. You don't have to like study this sort of stuff if you want to be like a really good player, but if people are interested in squeeze type stuff, I think that these should be cool. I mean, if this is popular, maybe I will do a little bit more on some of the other squeeze types. I'm going to start with compound squeezes because this sort of thing I think comes up often when I'm talking about hands. And it's very difficult for me to spot. Like, I'll probably recognize it if it happens, or if we get to like the point where, someone discarded some things and now it's kind of devolved into like a double squeeze type of situation. Because from my understanding, that's basically how compound squeezes work, that like someone gets squeezed down to, or one player gets squeeze on both opponents, and one player ends up discarding down so that like their partner is the only one with a soul guard in one suit, and then their partner discards down so that they're the only one with soul guard in another suit, and then it basically looks like a double squeeze from there on out. Actually, that's a good place to start. So let me try and give an example of a hand for like what I understand as a compound squeeze, and like I'll either be right or I'll be wrong, and then we'll learn something from it. So let me try and give a simple enough example. So maybe one that's like, we have 12 top tricks and no trump, and we're looking for 13th. So let's deal it out like Bridgemaster style. So I'll give... I think I'm going to construct a hand where like 7 spades is cold, but let's say we're in 7 no trump because I think that is more interesting. So let's see. Let's make our hand 6-2-2-3 maybe, with like ace doubleton of hearts, ace doubleton of diamonds, and ace third of clubs. And our partner's hand's going to be 5, 3, 3, 2. It's like king third of hearts and king third of diamonds and king doubleton of clubs. Something like this. So that there's like plenty of entries everywhere. And let's go ahead and give the opponents both 4x1 shape. So West is going to have 4x1, as will East. And spot card's completely irrelevant to this hand. So I'm going to, I haven't like looked through this hand at all, but like I'm going to say that I think we can make 7 no trump on this hand. We have 6 spades, 2 hearts, 2 diamonds, and 2 clubs off the top. Obviously 7 spades is going to be cold. We could rough a club in partner's hand, but let's say we get to 7 no, and let's go ahead and take a look. I'm not going to verify whether or not we actually do make set. Like, I'm not going to hit the double dummy button, at least not yet. because I think whether I'm right or I'm wrong is kind of irrelevant to the exercise, as it generally should be. The objective when you're trying to learn about card play situations is to try and think through the problem yourself as best you can. Just clicking a button to learn the answer or to see things is not an effective way of, at least not for me, is not an effective way for me. I know people learn their own way, but it is not helpful to me to gain understanding if I just get told the answer to a problem. So I've specifically set this up so that there's like a bunch of communication in both hearts, clubs, and diamonds, because it might be the case that if like we shift all of these honors into one of the hands, like if North has ace, king, third too small, it might be the case that we can't make it anymore. But I think that this is basically the hand that I think of when I think of compound squeeze. So we win an opening spade lead and we cash a bunch of spades, and the opponents can make some pretty easy discards, at least for a little while. But then on the second to last spade, and this is the important thing in compound squeezes when you're running a long suit, at least from my baseline understanding and old memory recall, is kind of very similar to a trump squeeze, where the second to last card that you play in a long suit starts to enact the squeeze effect. So let's look at what happens if West pitches from a red suit first. Okay, let's say they pitch a heart. I don't know, I click the 7, the 6 of hearts. Now East has the sole heart guard. So we follow from dummy. And so obviously if East pitches a heart, that gives away the contract immediately. So now East must either pitch a diamond or a club. Let's suppose East pitches diamond. Well, now this is going to be a position that we are very familiar with. And this position is effectively a double squeeze. And to make it a lot easier to see the double squeeze, let's go ahead and cash both ace kings in the red suits, ending in the south hand. So we play a heart to the king, play a heart to the ace, we play a diamond to the king, and a diamond to the ace. And now we lead the 10 of spades. West, who has the last remaining diamond, has to hold on to it, so they must pitch a club. We can now let go of a diamond. And you'll see here why, in terms of squeezes, it's really important for us to actually have an accurate picture of the opponent's hands. Because if we swap the queen of hearts and 8 of diamonds in this position, we would need to discard the 4 of hearts from North's hand to enact the squeeze on East. But, so as I was saying, let's just get back to the end position because, I think a lot of viewers on the channel are pretty familiar with double squeezes because I talk about them a lot, and I think that that's certainly one of the types of squeezes that I have a pretty good understanding of. But, East pitches diamond here. So in this position, if we had led the 9 of spades, we would not make the contract. So it's very important for us to cash the ace king of both red suits once we get to this position. Because if we lead the 9 of spades, West will discard another heart, and now the North hand comes under pressure. Is it true that we don't actually make it? Like, if we pitch a heart or a diamond, we give up on the double squeeze possibility, but maybe if we throw a club, we're still okay. I'm not going to bother with this because we want to simplify our computations as much as possible. So this is why I said let's cash both our heart and diamond winners, ending in the south hand before we lead the last spade. So we get back to this position. If West throws a diamond, the 4 of diamonds is good, assuming we've been counting out the suit. So West has to pitch a club. We now let go the 4 of diamonds. East is now squeezed in hearts and clubs. They have to let go a club. And our 2 of clubs, in fact, sets up for the last trick. Club to the king, club to the ace, and the 2 of clubs takes the last trick. So going all the way back to these choices of discards for our opponents, if West pitches a red suit, we see that East can't pitch a diamond. They can't pitch a heart. So now what happens if East pitches a club? Can we still make the hand this time? So this time, West has clubs guarded and East has hearts guarded. So if we were to, we would like to create a double squeeze with diamonds being the middle suit. I guess that's the definition for double squeeze, the suit where both opponents are getting squeezed at the end. But if we try the same thing, this isn't going to work. If we play a heart to the king, so cash out the side suits that we have, and then cash out the clubs, now when we lead the spade, West has to keep a club. They can pitch a diamond, but dummy gets squeezed in front of East. So this doesn't look like it actually works. So can we do something better going back to this point where East has thrown a club here after West has pitched from a red suit? It kind of looks like the answer is no to me. And I will say that, so I had never studied squeezes based on this idea that I think they'll probably end up talking about in this document, which is that you look at things called threats, and depending on where threats are situated, you can kind of easily identify, assuming you have like this map in your mind between like these sorts of threats and these sorts of like guards is what they're called. So like a threat is the 2 of clubs. It is an extra card that has not been established. A guard here is the 8-7-6 of clubs because West is guarding the 2 of clubs. East is no longer guarding the 2 of clubs once they pitch the 10 because the queen jack will fall under the ace king, just as an example of the terminology. But I think that a lot of people learn squeezes this way. It feels very academic. And I think that this is a good way of identifying a lot of the common types of squeezes, including probably compound squeezes. I think this is a simple enough type of squeeze that comes up often enough where just learning about threats and guards and what sort of situations they can lead to different types of squeezes is useful. But there are 2 things that I do want to say about this. One, there are thousands, tens of thousands, whatever, of different types of squeezes out there, and a lot of them are quite unique, and many of them have not yet been discovered. Bridge players really haven't begun to like breach the depths of what card play has to offer. So I think that trying to generalize squeezes down to just like, here's like the construction, here's the bare bones construction, will cause you to overlook some of the more esoteric positions that can arise. So I think that's one problem. And then 2, I think a lot of these double dummy positions can be solved. And so building up the baseline skills as a bridge player of trying to identify where all the missing cards are, figure out the count of the hand, and then solve double dummy problems is a much more effective way of trying to learn squeezes. Like, I suppose, again, I would say for me, but I think this is also true for everyone else as well, that that you really want to be able to look at this position and analyze what's going on without just like looking at it and being like, okay, I count a guard and a threat in south, 2 threats in north, and east is sitting over north's threats, and west is sitting over south's threat, and therefore there's no squeeze. Like, that's cool. Like, I'm glad that you can do that. But I think it's also important to know why it doesn't work. So I think the main problem here is that we need to get east to relinquish one of the red suits. Like in the past, this whole when east pitched a diamond on the 5th spade right here, then we were able to kind of strip out east diamonds, strip out west hearts, and we got to a very common double squeeze type ending. But when east throws a club, I guess if we play another spade, one of the main problems here is because west no longer needs to hold on to hearts because they've already given up their heart guard. They can just continue pitching hearts. I think, again, if we discard from a red suit, we're kind of toast here. So we have to pitch the 4 of clubs, which is not so bad. I mean, the club suit can get unblocked pretty quickly, but east can pitch another club here. And so, like, because west has all these idle hearts and east has all these idle clubs, it doesn't look like we can really execute any type of squeeze. If I now cash 2 hearts, west has to throw a diamond. Because if west pitches a club, oh, maybe. Hold on a second. So if I go, no, because, okay, I was getting very excited, but it looks like we just don't have the hand set up in a productive way here. I was thinking that I could now do something like this: cash 2 hearts, ending in my hand, and west has to hold on to the 8-7 of clubs, so they have to pitch a diamond. And okay, great. Now east is sitting with the sole guard and hearts and diamonds, which we might think, oh, that's good. We can just squeeze them. But unfortunately, when we lead the ace of clubs, they're sitting behind all of dummy's cards. So here, if we pitch a diamond, so do they. If we pitch a heart, so do they. And east will get the last trick. So going all the way back, so let's actually try and understand this position a little bit better. So if west pitches one of the red suits, then if east pitches a club, we're pretty sure that we end up going down. So I'm confident enough that I can press this button, and I think I have an understanding of why pitching a club allows us to make it. But that's maybe an important thing to understand about compound squeezes before we get into the literature. So if west instead throws a club on this trick, east can't throw a club, and so east has to abandon one of the red suits. But now, so let's just pick one at random because it's in a symmetrical position. Now, when west has diamonds guarded, east has clubs guarded, so it just effectively creates a double squeeze. And similarly, if east had pitched a heart, west would have hearts guarded and east has clubs guarded. And so we have one of our threat cards sitting over the guard here in west. And similarly for east, we have our threat card in clubs sitting over the guard here in east. So that's kind of like your typical double squeeze type position. So again, in this position, we would just cache all of our side tricks to make the hand a little bit simpler in the suits that the opponents have kind of like abandoned, or at least one of them is abandoned. And now we're in the position for the normal double squeeze. We lead the 9 of spades. West has to hold on to the heart. Now we can let go the 4 of hearts. East has to hold on to the club queen. And the 3 of diamonds takes the last trick. So going all the way back to the start of the deal, I mean, we've basically seen that the hand cannot be made in 7 no trump if West holds on to their clubs and East gives up their clubs. And so just to verify that, double dummy does in fact tell us that this goes down. So I was incorrect that this was a compound squeeze type hand, but I think we're going to see stuff similar to this because this is basically what I remember about compound squeezes from back in the day is that, and I know I solved some of the problems on Bridgemaster, where I guess they had designed the hands a little bit better so that they were more easily recognizable as a compound squeeze. But it effectively devolves into a double squeeze when one of the opponents gives up one card or one suit and one of the opponents gives up another. At least that's what my understanding. So let's get into, can I jump to page 56? Compound squeezes. Oh boy, they're going to expect us to have read the entire book. A compound squeeze begins with a triple squeeze against one opponent, followed by a double squeeze against both opponents, or possibly a simple squeeze against one opponent. So this is kind of what I was trying to allude to. That like first you squeeze one of the opponents. Well, I thought that I think there are compound squeezes that work on both opponents first, but I'm not sure. The requirements, not always sufficient, are and this is where like I think my feelings on card play diverge a little bit because I'm sure that they're giving us like these rubrics, right? And we can just like memorize, okay, we need to have exactly one loser remaining. We need to have a single threat over the guarding defender. And we need to have 2 double threats, each accompanied by a protector entry. These, I don't know what all of these terms are, but one player must guard the basic threat as well as the 2 B threats, which can't be done. That player must unguard, whereupon that threat becomes a single threat, either an R or L, guarded by partner. I think R and L in squeeze literature refer to... I'm not sure if it refers to right and left or if it's like right and both or right and like automatic, because some like simple squeezes only work on one defender. Like you imagine dummy has an ace jack combination and an outside king in a 3-card ending. It only works on the person to the left of us. Whereas if the king was in our own hand and dummy has the ace and jack, then the squeeze would work on either defender. Stage is set for double squeeze. Note that threats described as double threats may be guarded. Blah, blah, blah. In all compound squeezes, a time comes, the fork, when declarer must decide which double threat has been unguarded by the first squeezee. Yeah. So in an unrestricted compound squeeze, the fork does not come until all F winners have been cashed. All F winners. Dude, oh my God, man. Okay, there's a bunch of stuff. Great, they have examples. So let's look at the examples because this will be kind of what I'm trying to do here. I'm not interested in just like reading through a book. So great. So West leads the 2 of spades. Cool. So what's the point here? Looking at the hand, we would like to exert some sort of pressure on East. And it looks like we can immediately do that by just cashing the ace of spades. So let's do that. East obviously can't pitch a club. And if East pitches a heart or a diamond, then this hand effectively devolves into a double squeeze, which we've kind of seen before. So, like, if East pitches a heart, West can throw kind of anything at this point, but now we can cash the Ace of Hearts, extracting East's kind of idle card. The Queen of Hearts was not doing anything anymore because it's not protecting against this Two of Hearts. We can play another spade towards our hand, and East gets squeezed down to a doubleton diamond. So this double squeeze is not going to happen simultaneously right now, but East cannot afford to pitch a club, of course, so they pitch a diamond. West can throw a heart for now, but now the Ace of Clubs squeezes West in the red suits because East has given up their guards in diamonds and hearts as well. So West will pitch a diamond, we let go of the Two of Hearts, and then Ace, King of Diamonds, and a diamond takes the rest of the tricks. So, similarly, I mean, like, a very similar thing happens if we lead the Ace of Spades and East abandons diamonds first instead of hearts. Then, again, we want to cash the suit that East has gotten rid of. And, I mean, it doesn't seem important whether or not we do that now or before or after cashing the last spade, but I think it kind of simplifies things by doing it immediately. So diamond to the ace, diamond to the king, Queen of Spades. East now, once again, can't abandon clubs, so they have to pitch a heart. We play the King of Spades. West throws a heart, but now, because East has let go of their heart guard, Ace of Clubs squeezes West in the red suits. So I guess this is what is called a compound squeeze. That's basically the position that we're looking at right now. Okay. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. I mean, like, there is this question. So this, I think, is the big question that I recall when I was looking at compound squeezes many, many, many years ago, is just which suit have they unguarded, right? Because we can look at all of this stuff in a double dummy perspective and be like, yeah, of course it works like this. But this is why, like, in squeezes, it's so important to get all the basic tactics and techniques when it comes to bridge really solid before you start diving into, like, actual squeezes, because otherwise you're not going to really know what's going on and you're going to mis-execute a bunch of squeezes. So you really need to have a good picture of the opponent's hands, figure out what cards they're down to, based on their signaling methods, based on the cards they played, sometimes based on the tempo of their plays, based on the auction as well, and inferences from the auction, all of that sort of stuff, opening leads, those things. And so the better you get at building a picture of the missing hands, the more likely you're going to be able to get to a position like this where you're confident about the count in the different suits. And then you'll have a chance of doing the right thing in these end positions. But it's always still a guess. I mean, like, even going back to strip squeezes, there's so many positions where you just get to a guess, where you have to guess. Did they open one heart with 5 or 6 hearts, right? Sometimes you don't know, and you have to make a judgment call at the end of play. But yeah, so we can basically see, I guess, the essence of a compound squeeze. So I was trying to set one up earlier where both defenders had guards in every suit, but here it's a lot easier to create the position because East comes under way too much pressure on that second to last spade, the penultimate spade, because they happen to have the sole guard in one of the suits. And I'm sure this is mentioned somewhere in this literature here. And then they refer to a bunch of the other types of squeezes and whatnot. So let's see. I think this is all that hand that we were just looking at. There's a second type, The basic threat hands, 2 required threat protectors are in the basic threat. Oh my god, dude. Like, I can't. I can't with squeeze literature. This is... Great. Okay, good talk. Let's just set up the position and then we'll take a look through it. So spade. So this is the position that we get to right here. So let's take a look. Again, we're in this position where I think like this is just very, I'm going to, in quotation, simple and straightforward, right? Because East is the only one with clubs guarded, East has to do something in one of the red suits. East has to give up one of their protections in the red suits when we cash the ace of spades. And so, of course, a club discard's no good. East pitches diamond. We've seen these double squeeze positions so many times before. East has clubs sitting under us. West has diamonds now sitting under us, the 2 of diamonds. And so now we can just, West can pitch, doesn't matter. We can cash the ace of diamonds, stripping out East's card in the suit, cash the king of spades, and this starts to enact the double squeeze against East. They still have to retain their club holding, so they pitch a heart. We play a spade. West can pitch a heart as well, but now we play a club over to our hand. West can pitch a diamond for now, but now the ace of clubs. West gets simple squeezed in the red suits on this trick. So, okay. So that one, we understand. I mean, it's a very similar type of position. I'm trying to see. This looks like a new hand. Oh, if the ace and king of spades had been split between the 2 hands so that South could play the last... Oh my god. Sure, then North does not need a small club because South has the entry. I mean, yeah, entries are important in squeezes. I don't think we need to play this one out. It would just be cash the ace of spades, cash the red ace that East abandons, cross to the king of spades, and then cash the ace king of clubs. Okay, the basic rule for all compound squeezes. First cash winners in the suit abandoned by the basic... Oh my god, dude. The terminology. I hate the terminology for squeeze discussion. I mean, terminology is important. You want to know what you're talking about. But it feels like I'm in a math class if we're using words like this. In layman's terms, I would say this is what happened when I was like cashing that ace of hearts in the previous example, or the ace of diamonds, whichever one it was. In this example, right? When East discards from a red suit, then we cash the ace of that red suit. Because this will leave the defender who has given up that suit fewer cards to work with. Like once East pitches a heart, their queen of hearts is not a useful card anymore. Once East pitches a diamond, their queen of diamonds is not a useful card. So they basically have extra fodder to throw if we start cashing more tricks, and we don't want them to have fodder. We want them to be forced to part with important cards only. So we want to strip out all of the excess, and then they'll get squeezed, basically. Okay, the defenders, attack protectors in the base. Oh my god, dude. Cut communication. A good opportunity for disrupting declares communication arises when there's a singleton and dummy, or likely singleton declares hand. Leading that suit will deny declare any communication, as usual. As in all potential squeezes, if you have to unguard a suit, do it early before discarding unneeded cards. Declare may think you have done the opposite and lose the squeeze. So this is like a double dummy thing. And it's, I think that this very rarely happens in real life. Because defenders, like at the highest high level, like at the upper echelon of like world-class level, sometimes defenders will do this. There are also some defenders who just do this all the time, like Xia, and sometimes to a detriment, but oftentimes it is quite good defense. But in terms of practicality on defense, the defenders generally don't know that they're being squeezed, because like their main objective is to try and communicate and signal to their partner and give their partner information to find the right defense, if there is a right defense. So you can plan out your discards, but like it's not always going to be the case that you know that you are being compound squeezed, or even that you know you're being simple squeezed on a hand. You kind of just like discard cards, like pitch losers, keep winners, that sort of thing, until we reach some sort of certainty position, which tends to come at the very end of the hand. So, like, yes, there are some kind of, I think, common positions where like top level players will discard down to, like stiff king or whatever early in the play. I mean, Bob Hammond did against me. Like when I started running a suit in 6 no trump, and his first 2 discards were to pitch down to a stiff king and a side suit because he knew he was getting squeezed. But I think it's like pretty rare in general for defenders to do that. Like most of the time, I mean, especially if you go back and look at a bunch of hands from like the open trials where a defender is getting squeezed, they wait until the very last possible minute to unguard something, because it tends to be like your best chance from a double dummy perspective to beat the contract is to hang on to all of the important cards until the very last minute. They say as you become familiar with squeeze positions, you'll come to know when it matters, which suit you can unguard, leaving partner with the guard responsibility. I think this is true, that, I mean, if you read into these ideas about like threats and guards and stuff, then good squeeze technique tends to be to keep guards over threats and discard guards under threats. So if you're sitting west and you're hanging on to, I mean, this goes all the way back to the very first hand that we brought up, right? Like west, their only important job on the hand was to keep the club guard, because they were sitting with the guard over the threat that was in Declarer's hand. Declarer had the sole club threat. So anyway, that's an example. Okay. Then there is a restricted something. Okay, we have a new hand to look at. Let's take a look. And now we cash the ace of spades. West can pitch basically anything. They're not under any pressure yet. East has to keep the king, queen of clubs. So once again, East has to abandon a red suit. Let's just pick diamonds randomly. Now we can cash the diamond ace to strip out East's card that otherwise would have been useless. Cross back in hand with the club to the ace. And then cash the king of spades. And now we are in a typical double squeeze type position, because West is sitting with the only diamond guard, East with the only club guard, and the threats are kind of properly positioned in these 2 suits. So West pitches a heart, we throw a diamond, East pitches a heart, and then a heart to the ace. Whoops. And the 2 of hearts takes the last trick. So very similar to what we saw before, but I guess it devolves into a different type of squeeze, because earlier we saw it become a simple squeeze against West. Here, it turned into a double squeeze against both opponents. And I mean, I'm sure that if you cared to read and wade through all of the terminology, you could figure out why that is. But that is basically what we're noticing here, is that like, because East is left with the sole responsibility of keeping this king, queen of clubs, they have to give up something very early, the second to last card that we play in a suit. And then utilizing that, the squeeze turns into either a single squeeze against their partner or a double squeeze involving both players. I'm looking at, okay, this. If North's club were a small diamond, this would be the situation after the first spade is cashed. Well, let's take a look. It says there is no squeeze here, but let's play it out to understand. So yeah, I mean, it looks like this isn't going to work because we don't have that club entry, right? The important thing here is to have entries to both hands, right? So on the ace of spades, we follow, East can't pitch a club, but East can pitch a diamond. And so this is why it's important to be able to cash the ace of diamonds first, because we can play the king of spades, West will throw a heart, we can pitch a diamond, but East can pitch this queen of diamonds. And East still has this queen nine of hearts protected. So now when we cash the ace of clubs, West doesn't really care. West can get rid of a heart, and Dummy's in trouble on this trick. If we pitch a diamond, then we could kind of play a diamond to the ace, and East gets squeezed here, but of course we have no entry back to the jack of clubs, so East can just pitch the king of clubs on this trick. So this is why cashing the ace of diamonds early would be important. Like, imagine if the ace and three of diamonds were switched, then East would legitimately be squeezed in this position. So this is really why it's important to start cashing those side suit winners, and that's actually a very illustrative example. If North had started with two spades, the necessary return capability would be present. Yeah, so I mean, similar reason that two spades, I know, like we have two, but that's just because I've edited the diagram so that we can have West lead a spade at trick one. Instead, North would have to have an extra spade over here instead of this diamond, and then that's very similar to one of the hands that we saw earlier. It's just the communication between the two hands is really important. This terminology, I'm losing my mind. Is this a different hand? Okay, so this one, the ace of diamonds, has been created as an entry to the south hand. So we can take a look at this one as well. It's going to have a very similar feel. I wish they would show us examples where one of the opponents doesn't have like this club holding, but maybe that's necessary. Maybe that is necessary for the compound squeeze to operate. All right, so once again, opening spade lead, declare wins the trick. And now we cash the ace of spades. And so West can throw a heart without too much problem. But now East has to let go one of the red suits because they have the club ace. So if East lets go the nine of hearts, now we can cash the ace of hearts, getting rid of East's card. And then we have communication to get back to the south hand, diamond to the king, where we can play the king of spades. And we have, once again, another double squeeze. East has to protect clubs, West has to protect hearts. So we've seen that one before. And the five of diamonds takes the last trick. All right, they're just showing examples on how to cash your tricks in order. The required return entry for cashing the last free winner in the south hand may be in the F suit. Dude, the F suit. Whatever the F suit is, I'm not happy about it. Sure, we can set up this example as well. So we need to keep communication to the south hand. It looks very natural, therefore, to cash the ace of spades to enact the first part of the squeeze. East has to keep the king, queen, doubleton at clubs, so they will abandon one of the red suits. let's choose diamonds, I guess. West isn't under any pressure yet. But so now that East has abandoned diamonds, we can cash the diamond ace. And then play a spade back to hand. Now East has to abandon hearts. Have to keep the king, queen of clubs again. And now this has basically been a double squeeze at this point. So now the ace of clubs. West has to keep diamonds, otherwise the two of diamonds is a winner. So now we can pitch the diamond and a heart to the ace and a heart back. And kind of an unusual type of double squeeze ending where like a lot of the times the double squeeze is going to look like you have a singleton, opposite ace, doubleton in the end position. But here we have a doubleton, opposite ace, doubleton in the end position. Wait, that's because I missed a card. South has an extra card. What did I do? Wait, their diagram has South with an extra card. Okay, it's not my fault. South is supposed to have one fewer heart in the diagram. Very good. Now I get it. Very good. Okay. But yeah, same idea. Yeah, it was just like, man, how did we create a double squeeze where it's like doubleton, opposite ace and one at the end? Oh, because someone has a 14th card in the suit. Okay, unrestricted. The lonely double threat is headed by two protectors. This is some Crusades level history that we're getting into here. Okay, let me count up the cards. South has 7, North has 7, East and West both have 7. Great. And now what's the idea? Staring at the player who has the important card, the Ace of Hearts, they're going to have to start discarding when we cash a couple of spades, right? That seems like the first thing to point out. So we'll lead the king of spades. East and West can both pitch clubs on this first trick. But then when a spade comes to the ace, so East can pitch a heart because the queen of hearts is useless. Ace of spades. West has to keep the ace of hearts, so they'll have to either give up diamonds or clubs. Why do I feel like I've already done something wrong? Like, if West pitches a club here, huh? I feel like I am not understanding this one. I did get the right hand, yeah? Well, it says 5 tricks and 3 winners is 1 too few winner. That sounds about right, yes. I mean, depending on the type of squeeze. So did I miss something? Why do I feel like I've missed something here? Somehow declare lost a heart. Where did declare's heart go? Okay. I understand the position that they actually wanted to create now. Let's go back and make some edits because they did not do a very good job. Let's go back. Let's go again. now we can do the thing, right? Everyone has 7 cards. West on lead leads a spade. Yeah, count your tricks, people. Very good point. Very important to count your tricks. So now, let's cash the king of spades. East can pitch a heart. And now West comes under some pressure. If West... Yeah, this one's a little bit more complicated, but okay. Let's go over the simple ones first. If West discards a diamond, now West has the sole garden hearts, the ace of hearts, with the king and dummy. East has the sole garden diamonds. So we can now just play a spade over to hand. First, East comes under some pressure. They can't pitch a diamond, so they have to come down to a singleton club. And the double squeeze has started. West can throw a diamond for now, but now the ace, king of diamonds catches West in the second part of the double squeeze. And so they also will have to abandon clubs. We can pitch a heart. And now the 2 of clubs scores for the last trick. So that's part 1. But what happens now if West throws a club on this trick? Well, now we do something different, because before I had kind of said, oh, like we can just strip out the card that West has. But if we try cashing the ace of clubs here, we'll note that this is our last entry to the north hand. And so now when we play a spade over to south, we're kind of trapped in the south hand. So this doesn't work. Instead, we need to play the jack of spades first. I guess I could have done something a little bit different earlier. East will have to pitch diamond on this trick because they have the only club guard. And West gets kind of squeezed on this trick. I mean, if they pitch a diamond, that gives up the 3rd diamond immediately. If they pitch the ace of hearts, the ace of clubs is still an entry. So they can pitch the king of clubs for now, but now when we lead a club up, West is the only one with guards and hearts and diamonds, so they get simple squeezed in the red suits with the ace of clubs being an entry. So instead, I think what we could have done is play the jack of spades to the ace. And then it would look very similar to what we had seen before. Is that true? Well, East can pitch a heart. We play the ace. So if West pitches a diamond, now we can cash the ace, king of diamonds. Not really, right? Yeah, this doesn't work. This does not work. I mean, we can still play a spade to the king and effectively create the same sort of position that we saw before. So we need to be a little bit careful. If, I don't know, whatever, this is still some sort of type of compound squeeze. It's called a type L compound squeeze. So we don't always just cash the winners in the suit that one of the defenders has unguarded. This is why you need to like think for yourself, right? Like, sure, I mean, maybe if you identify this as like a type L compound squeeze, great. But you should also just like think through the problem. And so it doesn't look like this is as effective. I mean, like I said, we can just lead the queen of spades back. But if we tried cashing cashing the ace king of diamonds is okay. Oh, we can cash the ace king of diamonds and ditch the king of spades. Sure. But I guess that becomes a little bit complicated. Maybe it's not complicated. Maybe we can just go ace, king of diamonds, pitch a spade, and then lead the queen of spades. And this is simple enough. West gets squeezed in hearts and clubs. They have to pitch a club. We can pitch the king of hearts, and now East gets squeezed in clubs and diamonds. Okay. Fair enough. But we should be careful because it's not like the exact same type of position, right? We can't just cash the ace, king of diamonds and then cross to the king of spades and expect that everything's good. Cool. Okay, so that was that one. Then some explanations, more explanations, restricted, blah, blah, blah. In this deal, both hands have an entry in the basic threat suit. Let's take a look. And what's the deal with this one? So once again, one of the defenders is the only one with one of the suits under control, a guard. They have clubs guarded over here. So we play the ace of spades. West has to abandon one of the red suits. So let's say they pick diamonds. East can throw a heart for now. I would say normally this is the spot where we'd cash the diamond ace, and that looks fine because we have plenty of entries to both hands. So now we can cash the king of spades. And West first comes under the pressure for this impending double squeeze. If they pitch a club, then we have the rest of the tricks. So instead they pitch a heart. Now our club has been used. We don't need that 3 clubs anymore. So East can pitch a heart for now, but then we can cash 2 rounds of clubs. East throws a diamond, and then the final club, East gets squeezed in the red suits here. So have to keep the king of diamonds. They pitch a heart, and now a heart to the ace. Brings home the rest of the tricks. I mean, a lot of these just feel very similar to me. Like, squeezes are just squeezes. But yeah, there are definitely some slight differences. I mean, the previous one we did had like a pretty substantial difference where you couldn't just cash the tricks in the side suit that had been abandoned, or, you know, it was a very different type of position. Okay, they talk through a bunch of things. Here's an example of what happens when one hand lacks the required 2 entries. In quotations, required 2 entries. So let's take a look and see if we can understand why this doesn't work. And what happens here? So we lead the ace of spades. First, West comes under some pressure. They have to abandon one of the red suits. If they pitch a diamond, then it looks like we are okay. So if they pitch a diamond, East can as well. We can then extract West's diamond card, as we had been doing, and then we can lead the king of spades, and the opponents get caught in a double squeeze. So West has to hold on to the club ace. They pitch a heart. We let go of the king of clubs. East has to hold on to the diamond jack. East pitches a heart. We have the rest. So instead of the diamond discard under the spade ace, kind of thinking about this idea that like we want to retain the diamonds because declarer here has this 2 of diamonds threat in their own hand. I'm just assuming South is declarer in all of these examples. West can pitch a heart. And so now East has to hold on to hearts. So East can start throwing diamonds. And we could try and do something similar. Heart to the king, heart back to the ace to extract West's cards. But now we play the king of spades. West can continue pitching diamonds. We can throw the club king. But yeah, actually, there's no entry to dummy anymore. And if we go back and decide not to cash some hearts and just lead the king of spades immediately, West pitches a diamond. Let me stare at this for a minute. Wait, why did I say a diamond? West pitches another heart. Yeah. And so this is kind of the reason why we want to extract West's extra cards, right? Because now we can pitch the club king. East can hold on to their hearts and pitch more diamonds, but there isn't really any way that we can squeeze people anymore because the king of clubs is gone. If we now go ace of hearts and a heart towards dummy, West has this ace of clubs that they can discard. It's no longer an important card to hold on to. And of course, if we had pitched anything other than the club king, like if we pitch a heart, well, now the opponents can just give up on hearts. And if we pitch a diamond, then we kind of lose out on all of the communication in the diamond suit. So then if we go ace of hearts, heart to the king, West can get rid of diamonds in the end position. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly the terminology or how you want to categorize this, but of course, you can kind of see if you think through how the hand's going to play out that it just doesn't work. Let's try it with a second entry. Everything should be fine. Play the ace of spades. Again, West has to abandon something. Here, let's suppose they stick with their intuition of keeping the king, queen of diamonds because their partner can hold on to hearts, so they pitch a heart. We play the six of spades. East can throw a diamond for now. But now we do cash out the two hearts that West has. So we play a heart to the king and a heart back before leading the king of spades. West has to hold on clubs, so they pitch a diamond. We can now ditch the jack of clubs. And East can, for now, throw a club. But now when we play a club to the ace, East gets squeezed in the red suits. So that is that example. We now have a B1 restricted type RFL double squeeze. Perfect. That's what I thought was going on. And then more examples. Wait, what is this? Ooh. Okay, this looks exciting because there's like some sort of stiff ace. There's some sort of a crisscross element, it looks like. So I assume similarly, we want to start by cashing the ace of spades, putting some pressure against West. They can't pitch a club. We do have entries in both red suits. They have to abandon one of the red suits. If we want to stick with kind of our theory here that by pitching a diamond is just going to result in a double squeeze later, then we should probably ditch a heart on this trick. East can throw a diamond for now. And now what? So West pitched a heart. We should probably cash out the heart. But let me think about this for a minute. Yeah, it does look like we end up in a very similar situation here. So cash out the heart and then cross in clubs. East can pitch one heart for now. But then we play the king of spades. And we once again come down to a double squeeze type ending. West has to keep the club. They pitch a diamond. We can throw the club. East has to keep the heart. So they throw a diamond and all of our diamonds are good. Not really that different. I mean, the stiff ace acting as a re-entry is kind of helpful after we cash that ace of hearts to strip out West's card. Alternative threat compound squeeze. This looks like a blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's see. So again, West is sitting here, the player who's going to have to give something up when we cash the ace of spades. So let's say they pitch a heart for now. East can discard a diamond. They don't need that card at all. So we can extract West's heart, cash the ace of diamonds. East can pitch a heart for now. No, that's no good. No, this is no good. Okay, hold on. I thought this was just going to turn into the common double squeeze, but it looks like it does not. The entries are complicated. Oh, well, sure. Yeah, I mean, it does. So we can cash the king of spades immediately. West can continue pitching hearts because they don't need the king of hearts anymore, but so do we. And then we use the ace of hearts entry. So now West has to discard clubs. So heart to the ace. And now the ace of diamonds squeezes East in the round suits in this situation. So let me try and get a bit of a grasp on why this happened. Because I was doing that sort of like pattern recognition thing, right? Where like for double squeezes, you generally want to play down to like ace doubleton opposite a singleton. So I was like, oh, okay, like ace of diamonds, pitch a heart. It was kind of what I was going for, but we don't really have the entries to do all of that. And of course, unblocking the ace of hearts to strip out West's heart card before cashing the king of spades is once again wrong in this position. I mean, it works. It's a simple double dummy problem to solve, but I don't know. I'm not sure I know the reason. Like, I can't really associate it without using all of these like weird terminology things. I'm not sure I can explain it in a simple manner why king of spades to pitch a heart is the right thing to do, because it feels a little bit unnatural blocking suits like this in a squeeze situation, but it's all because like we need to use the ace of hearts entry to get over to the north hand. I guess that's not technically true. We could use the king of clubs entry to get to the north hand. Anyway. So I guess the answer is cash king of spades, pitch a heart, heart to the ace, but I'm not sure I have any great insights as to why. Okay, so that was this type of position. What if blah blah abandons hearts? Oh, this is what we were looking at. The double squeeze is then an unrestricted type B1. Oh my god, dude. I can't. To repeat, cash winners in the suit abandoned by the basic threat garter ending in the hand with the final squeeze card! To Defenders must watch out for the situation in which it may be wrong to follow the general rule of unguarding a threat held on the left when partner can guard it. And that is when RHO holds a threat in the suit also. The result is that partner is guarding a threat held on the left, which is undesirable. Sure. Okay, that was compound squeezes. Do I feel like I understand them more? Yeah, I mean, I came in with the idea that compound squeezes can operate when no one holds a guard anywhere. And maybe that's actually true in some cases, but not in the example that I had constructed. So all of these had an example where one opponent already was holding on to the sole guard in a suit somewhere. Like in this example, West is the sole person to guard the diamond suit. And so because of that responsibility that West has, they were required to give up something early, abandon one of the other suits early, and then usually the theory is going to be from there we want to cache the cards in the suit that they abandoned, all of our aces and kings in that suit, to strip them out of extra idle discards before we then execute either a simple or double squeeze against both of them or just their partner in the other two suits. But it's not always the case. So we do need to be a little bit careful, but I think this idea that when one player is forced to hang on to protection in one of the suits, and therefore we'll have to give something up in the other suits when we start running our tricks or caching our side winners, that's kind of the basic mechanism for a compound squeeze.